We are live. Good morning, Steve Conley. How are you?
Fantastic, Dan. How the heck are you?
Oh, swell on this Sunday morning, September 3rd, 2023. There's your date stamp.
I appreciate that.
All right, so what do we have to talk about today? Anything?
What's that?
Anything? I mean, because we are live to the masses here on Twitch, on Facebook, and YouTube.
Well, let's start off with, who the heck are you, Mr. Dan Taylor?
I am Dan Taylor. I call myself a creative. I create, in the past, I've created comic books and role-playing game content, and I am a dungeon master for a live actual play Dungeons and Dragons show live on stage at various comedy clubs.
You call yourself a creative?
Like
on your business card, Dan Taylor Creative?
No, but maybe I should add that. I've got Dungeon Master Producer on my business card. How about that?
That's excellent. That's excellent. My name's Steve Conley. I write and draw.
Oh, I didn't ask who you were.
Oh, no, it's not for you. It's for the thousands of people who are live right now.
Okay.
I know you don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to rename this Dan Taylor with Steve Conley. You know,
it's much smaller print.
I'm replacing the "and" with a "with."
And I'm also presuming that my mic was cut minutes ago.
Yeah. I actually have an AI doing your, voiceover.
That will be a distinct improvement.
And it's just praising me.
Well, I consider, my name is Steve Conley. I am Dan Taylor's junior partner in Mazes and Muses, roaming the labyrinth of creativity. I am just a zero-level media henchling, and I just bask in the glory that is the creative Dan Taylor. When I'm not doing that, I also make webcomics, The Middle Age, which I write and draw. It's a webcomic free to read online at middleagecomic.com, and Webtoons Tap as Go Comics. It's a story of a knight who's in love with a dragon and has a magic sword which hates him. Very relatable. And I also make ttrpg content like Intoximancy, Death Dealing, and the upcoming Meta Domain Cleric, which you can learn more about at prayershandbook.com.
Let me ask you this: do we have a launch date yet for that?
No. I want there to be more. Well, I want to build up enough material in a way that will hopefully make production faster. And I do know it's going to launch in September, but the main thing for me is I'm still delivering the Death Dealing rewards, and it's really important that the Death Dealing rewards be out the door before the next one starts. As sometimes Kickstarters can overlap in some way, like things haven't been delivered and they start the next one. That feels depending on the
irresponsible. Feels irresponsible.
It can depending on how those things line up, or it can feel like I guess irresponsible is the best word, because it's like, why are you starting something new when you haven't delivered what you've promised me? I understand when there's production problems. Like currently, I wouldn't say this rate says a problem, but I'm waiting on the card decks to come in, and so they have my money. They got, it's within the window of it's now pushing the end of the window for delivery of them. They're not late. It's just like within that range of, okay, it's probably going to be here. It could be as long as this. And we're getting toward the end of, it could be as long as this. So hopefully everything will be out the door by the middle of September. In the next few weeks, I'll be doing a lot of trips to the post office, or having the post office come to me. I don't know if you have that done. That's amazing. If you use a service like Pirate Ship, and I don't know how many people who watch this are interested in crowdfunding and all that stuff.
It's all part of being a creative. It's all part of roaming the labyrinth.
Yeah, I suppose it is. And all these hats we wear. I print my postage here. I use a service called Pirate Ship, so I can fill it all out online. You can package up 20, 30 things, and there's a thing called a manifest or end of day report. And what it does is it gives you a summary of, this from the shipping world,
yes,
right? But you could do that yourself, and you could just hand the post office. You can bring all the stuff there, and they don't have to boop, 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 scan everything. You just hand them the manifest. They scan it once, and all that's done. And you can do the same thing when you schedule an appointment. They come here, hand them 5 boxes of books and the manifest, and they just leave. And that's not saves them time, saves you time.
End of day report.
End of day. Yeah.
Yep, I'm quite familiar with that. And of course, when I ship all my stuff, from doing crowd funding, I just take it to work and ship it through work.
Nice.
I mean, I gotta pay them, but I mean it's already there. So
But that's awesome because I love people who. It's often that creatives have to or can lean on the other parts of their life that normally would fall outside of just sitting there and writing up stat blocks.
yeah,
You know?
no, I mean work doesn't know this, and work doesn't watch me with this, but I do work. In that shipping department that I work at, I do work with my pal Jesse, who is my zero level media intern.
Fellow henchling.
Yeah. And so, he's the guy that does all the shipping. So I just throw him the boxes and they just magically go out the door somehow in some way. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. And I steal my boxes from work because
they have a plethora.
Yeah.
Assortment.
What do they know? What do they know? So anyway, so I am looking forward. I do remember pledging to Death Dealing. I don't know.
I'm very happy with how the books turned out. I had an update on the Kickstarter campaign. I think that's a big deal too, is just making sure you've got regular updates. And I do want to follow up, by the way, as soon as this bit's over, I want to talk to you about Star Marshals and how Zoop's going.
Yeah.
But I did receive the hardcovers of Death Dealing. I think I don't know if we had them last week, but they just look great. They fit alongside Intoximancy perfectly. Mixum did an even better job, and they even, when I reprinted Intoximancy, which I placed that order before we knew about the Ennie Awards and all that stuff. The next edition will have logos, loser, but the Intoximancy is a cleaner print than the first one. I'm very happy with the zine, the very first zines, and I should send you the new zine, as you can see. You have a first edition zine. There is a light magenta halo around the Intoximancy logo, which I didn't intend, but when I got it, I thought, that looks nice. I don't hate that. It was an artifact from adding the spot varnish on the zines, and the new printing doesn't have that halo. So there's a clear difference between first printing and second printing. And then the third printing will have the Ennie's logo. So I actually accidentally have these kind of clear demarcations about which version's which. So you have the first edition Intoximancy.
Ooh, and I'm going on eBay now. See if I can.
Yeah, there aren't that many of them. But very happy with Mixum. If you're looking for somebody to print, depending, it costs because it's still print on demand. It's not like going full on press. But,
yeah. No, I mean I'm looking forward to getting it next to, because I had bought another new set of shelves for role playing game content.
Nice.
Here in someday I'm gonna have to give a virtual tour of this office space. It is so packed and crowded. Just you can tell from the background. Imagine that on all the walls everywhere.
Right. And it's like I mentioned, it's like a Macy's window where you change it from time to time, and it's always cool stuff.
I haven't changed it in a while, but and in fact, I looked at it this morning. I should change it. I don't have time to change it. So I'm thinking about getting stuff designed where I can just put like Catacombs and Comedians logo on that shelf behind me. Won't Mazes and Muses. Won't just depending on what the show is, what I'm doing.
100,000 YouTube subscriber plaque that will go right there. Yeah.
And also, I am working with Zero Level Media now, that I've got the Patreon, I'm not saying it's officially started. I mean, yes, it's open and someone can go in there and just read the one post that says, hey, this is what I'm going to do. But, just haven't had the time to dedicate to get it officially going. So I'm not pleading for backers at this point at all. Just, I'm still laying down the groundwork. Everything's got to be, with time, just get everything going. But yeah, things have been, let's see. So let's jump into Star Marshals, get the comic book stuff out of the way. Yes. I talked to Zoop. They were the people that I did the crowdfunding through because they specialize in comic books. And I have yet to get the list of backers or the money, which is fine. I'm not complaining. They said they would take this time this week to clean, run it through, do the backing, get all the pledges processed. Some people who I know who have pledged have told me, hey, for some reason my pledge was declined. It shouldn't have been declined. And I'm like, okay, well, don't worry about it. If you don't want the book, don't. I'm not stressed about it. It's over. I pledged a little bit myself through another account as a test, and I have not gotten notification that that's been processed. So that's kind of weird. But I know other people who processed, and it's been no problem, and it's, you know, a done deal, and now they're just waiting. So they said they would, you know, go through it, try to fix the ones that didn't pledge. I mean, the ones that didn't go through,
right?
And then send me a final cleaned up list of my backers and at what tier levels and whatever. So they said they could wire me the money or just do Venmo. I just said, just do Venmo. It's not that big of a deal. It's sooner and it's easier on all parties involved. So that's the status on Star Marshals. I am waiting for them. Gotcha.
That's interesting. I didn't realize it was. I thought for sure you're going to have like, okay, let's dig into some numbers. How did it all work out? That's interesting. I don't know. I still don't know when I would have been. Well, I'm not going to open up my email because it just beeps while we're broadcasting. But yeah, it's really interesting. How do you feel about the experience so far? Have you shared an update with the backers at this point? Or like,
the only way I could share an update is going through them again. Because
right.
That's how I did all my updates, was I just send them an email and they take the body of the email and put it through the update. So I'm not really, no, I haven't, just because.
Right. You're sort of waiting on them at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as I get that list, I will just start sending updates to everybody through my own, you know, myself, and not through their system. Right. I'll have everybody's email. I'll blind copy everybody. And just here's my email updates. Here's where you can, you know, starting off with, here's the Star Marshal digital file for, you know, the book and the, you know, the badge.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So, you know, and then here's, okay, people getting this, you can expect it in this way. People getting this, you can expect it in this way. So I'm not going to send everything out at once, just because I'm, you know, want to figure out why. And like I said, those people that just did money just to help me along, they're going to get special. They're getting crap regardless, because I got so much of it. And
that's great.
Tough shit, you know. Love it. So that's the deal with that. Star Marshals, as I'm just waiting again. And again, this is not a dig or a complaint. It's just, you know, I'm just saying it is what it is. And which is fine, because I've been so busy. You know, I had Baldur's Gate 3 to play for a little bit, and now Starfield is out. So I've already taken Baldur's 3 off my hard drive, because Starfield.
Have you really?
Starfield was the game I was waiting for. I mean, Dungeons and Dragons aside with Baldur's Gate 3, Starfield was the game I was waiting for. And you're lucky I'm talking to you, because I just want to play that.
Do you really?
In fact, after I get done with you, I still have to plan tonight's show at Stand Up Live in Huntsville, because I don't have that all planned yet.
What's involved in planning that? Like, I mean, how much do you know now? How much do you sort out between now and then?
Okay, we're familiar with Sly Flourish's
Lazy Dungeon Master?
Yeah, Lazy Dungeon Master prep, right? It's very similar to that, to be honest with you. Because I've done enough shows where I take the last episode, they're usually 3 to 5 pages of notes, and I just modify those and update it. Say, okay, here's, you know.
Are those notes you take on the fly, or do you watch a recording of it later on?
No, they're the notes I do originally for the game.
I see.
That for my own personal notes. You know, it's sort of my outline for that adventure.
Do you start each show with previously on Catacombs and Comedians?
A lot of times I ask one of the players, okay, who wants to recap last show? And they're all like,
sure.
Yeah.
That's why I was wondering if you were going to pick up the slack for the slack
show. So generally, you know, earlier when I was doing these games, they were more cohesive, and, you know, they were established as an ongoing storyline, but now they're more episodic. Or not episodic, but more ship in a bottle type episodes, where it's just, you know, one at a time, you know.
Right.
Kind of tie in, kind of don't, you know, because like tonight I've got a new player completely, because one of my old regular players in Huntsville is out. So actually I'm giving intern Jesse a chance to be on stage.
Oh, wow. That's great.
He's earned it, you know. Plus that, and I'm going to make him work my merch table. So, because last time I was in Huntsville, I did really well merch-wise. So,
oh, that's great.
Yeah, Catacombs and Comedians t-shirts.
Is it? I was going to ask, what is moving in the live shows? The t-shirts? Any?
T-shirts and the enamel pins.
Do you have new merch for this one? Since do you try to bring new merch treat like a comic convention, new merch at every show?
Not well. The last one I've now got a kind of a gray ash shirt instead of white. But I try to bring sometimes I'll bring a new poster, but I just haven't had time to print new posters. I try to do show specific posters because they're easy enough to design, and at least, and I enjoy doing it. And they don't, they cost about $1 to print, and then sometimes I give them away. Sometimes I charge $5 for it. Not a big deal.
And how far away is it from how far away is Huntsville from where you're at?
It's about 100 miles exactly.
Okay.
Door to door. Well, from my house, from my work where I usually leave, it's 100 miles. From here, it's about 120 miles. So it's about a 2-hour drive, a little over 2 hours. But I've got, Chance, my intern, going down with, not Chance, Jesse, my intern, going down with me, and Kanan, one of the comics from Nashville, who now plays down in Huntsville, will be joining me as well. So it'll be a little road trip, and we'll stop at 7-Eleven for snacks and
that's great,
things like that, and just talk shit about everybody else, all the other comedians.
Are you going to film tonight's episode of some?
No, I haven't done Huntsville. I haven't been able to film Huntsville. I just, it's just too. It's something I have to do, and I'm wearing too many hats.
Right.
I got to get my show ready. I got to DM. I got to, herd all the comics. It's just, and I don't have the budget to hire anybody to film it. So.
Right. I wasn't sure if the club itself has like a perch for an iPhone to be placed, or if they've got built-in, stuff for things like that.
No, I mean Nashville. Nashville. Finally, I can finally do it at Nashville. Of course, now I'm not doing the Nashville main stage. In fact, the last one was video, and I think it's up on catacombsandcomedians.com or Catacombs and Comedians on the YouTube channel, which is not this YouTube channel. Catacombs has its own dedicated channel. But yeah, I think, that should be up. I believe it's up. It's been a while since I did that show, maybe 2 months ago, a month ago. But I won't be doing that. Like I said, Nashville's opening up another venue, or Zanies is the club. They're opening a smaller venue next door for it. It's called it's like a comedy lab type of thing.
Nice.
And that's where my show will be regulated. I'm just waiting for that. And then I did Knoxville just last Wednesday. And this will be you win some, you lose some. The show itself was fine as far as on stage, but we performed for 6 people.
What happened?
I don't know. There was another comedy event in Knoxville that night, and it's just.
That's weird because that's really weird.
Yeah. So.
Well, that happens. We've been to comic conventions that there's more exhibitors than attendees, or you do a panel at a comic show and there's you've got hey, there's Walt Simonson next to you and 2 other giants in comics, and there's 4 people in the audience. You never know what. Yeah, exactly. You never know what. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's because we canceled the month before.
But each one of the participating comics has more fans than 6 people, right? So it's you'd think you'd pool all that energy together. I'm always well, it had to be something with parking or something weird.
You would think. I just have no idea, and like I said, I'm not complaining about it all. I mean, I drove 2.5 hours to Knoxville, 2.5 hours back for an hour and a half show, and. The money I made didn't cover gas, but I'm not complaining. These are just part of the growing pains of doing a show, of doing, essentially stand-up comedy.
Right.
You play to empty rooms occasionally. If
the comedians were completely used to this.
Oh yeah, it didn't faze them at all.
Right.
And to be honest, it didn't faze me at all either. I just, one of the comic who helps me run it from that end, from the Knoxville area, she was so apologetic. Sometimes, sorry, it happened. I'm like, it is what it is. No big deal. I don't care. So it's just, I would love every show to be a sellout, or playing for 100 people plus every show, but it just doesn't happen. And fingers crossed tonight goes really well in Huntsville, because that is my generally that's my favorite room is for Catacombs of Convenience. That's where the folks really tend to dig it.
Do you know why? Is it like they have a strong art, gaming stores in town, that sort of thing, where you're able to? Okay, yeah.
And it's also, the NASA and space and industry and all that stuff is in Huntsville, so it's a bunch of rocket scientists, nerds.
Perfect.
So, and that's where D&D and D&D Beyond is based.
Is it really?
Yeah, in Huntsville.
Huh.
I tried to invite them, but they said no, we can't go. So I said, okay, never mind.
We can't go.
That was apparently a call from Wizards of the Coast saying, nope, no unsanctioned.
Oh wow! So they can't.
I said, come to the show as my guest.
Interesting. You but there's probably one or two people there.
Probably, yeah. I have no idea. But like I said, last time I was there a month ago, I made $450 in merch.
Wow.
And I only made $150 at as talent. So
that's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
So Huntsville's good. I love Huntsville. Not saying I don't love. Well, Nashville, you could show up more, but I appreciate that. And Knoxville, what the hell? But no, I'm just teasing. And then after tonight's show, is I just start getting ready for Game Hole Con. That'll be my next.
When is that? When is the dates for that?
October. Well, let me look it up real quick.
Yeah, as I was telling Dan before we went live, I won't be at Game Hole Con. I've asked to be put on the waiting list, but they are. I get the sense that they're a small operation and overwhelmed.
October 19th through the 22nd.
Fantastic.
So I will have one show, I think, in Knoxville, September 27th. I want to get a Halloween type show established for Huntsville. And again, I don't expect to do Nashville again until maybe after the first of the year. They say maybe October, November, but I don't see that happening.
Because they're setting up the new venue?
Yeah, new venue, yeah. And I know how things move. Yeah, so.
Yeah, right. They're optimistic, but.
Yeah, I think that's an optimistic chance. But hopefully I would love to be one of the first shows there and just get it going and just get my regular crowd. And if I had, honestly, if I had 50, 60, 70, 80 people regularly for this show in the smaller venue, I'd be very happy.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it's kind of intimidating trying to sell out a 250, 300 person room.
Right. That would be a lot. Do those comedians you play with usually, who are part of your cast, are they usually filling up a room like that, or are these not?
No.
Right. So they're sort of like they're more their level of fandom is more appropriate for a smaller venue.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, a couple of and like they don't not very many of them have headlined. Okay. And some have been guest spots on bigger shows like at the Grand Ole Opry or other venues in the area. But in general, in the earlier shows for Catacombs of Convenience was the best paying gig that they ever had.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
So that's fine. And I'm glad for that because of course I want everybody to be happy and financially and creatively and spiritually. So
that's lovely. So Game Hole Con is is that your only convention of the year left? Is that the last? That's the last and that's like a large regional show, right? That's
exactly.
That's like Heroes Con or Baltimore Comic Con. It feels like it's not San Diego or PAX or something like that.
I am looking at doing a show. Let me double check the following. Is it the following week? Yeah. October 27th, 29th. There's a Music City Multicon here in the Nashville area.
Okay.
And I haven't talked to them yet. And I don't know if I have enough time to get it in, but I'm like, if they got a room for me to do, put on a show with some of my comics, I'd do it.
That's great. So when you want to do these shows largely as talent, like you want to have a panel and do that, or do you also want to be a vendor at these events yet, or are you kind of building up toward that as you build up your zero level
Building up towards that, yeah. At this point, that would just be promoting Catacombs and Comedians and say, hey, I mean, it'd be dumb for Catacombs and Comedians to have a booth because I don't have merch to sell, or well, I got some, but not a lot, and
it would feel like a the booths when they're set up by Medieval Times.
Yeah,
like, you got promo material. You're just trying to get people to go to the other thing.
Yeah, here, have a squeeze ball, stress ball, and
right?
See you there.
Sign up for our mailing list. Here's our QR code.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't have the budget for that, or
right. That's how someone was saying, oh, you got to set up at these other conventions. Right out of the gate, someone was like, oh, you got to do Dragon Con, I'm like, not until we talked about this, not until you have enough material to make it so that you have a chance of making table and making hotel room and gas fees and flights and all that stuff. I feel like it's such a big ask. And at least with crowdfunding and everything else, I'm often better off just staying at home and producing another book or building another crowdfunding campaign.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, before we went on today, I was working on the new, because I'm going to concentrate on an actual regular streaming program for Catacombs and Comedians. I've tried, we tried to launch it before with comics, but schedules were conflicting, and the quality wasn't up to what I wanted it to be.
Right.
So I'm working on revisiting that, and this would be like, I don't know, maybe a season 2. And so I was working on designing the layout and all that sort of stuff. And now some of the programs that I used to stream on have caught up to what I wanted to do with them.
Really?
Like what we're streaming right now on StreamYard, and now they've added some more features that'll help me make it better.
Right. They have like more control over the layouts.
Exactly. Like, yeah. And if you're going to do actual play, you've got to, it's easy. It's nice with this setup where it's just you and me talking.
Right.
It's basic enough. But if I want to do a D&D thing, I'm going to have 5 talking heads.
Right. And you want to have a specific position because you're the dungeon master. You
exactly
maybe a map, but not, or an asset, because this is beautiful orientation stuff. Like when you when you share a screen, it automatically shuffles us to the side and reorganizes the pictures. And if we have our names up there or captions, it automatically hides them or scales them.
And I want to talk to and the comics I had, God bless them, and I love all of them. But on all honesty, some of their streaming capabilities didn't cut the mustard. And so I'm going to audition, a new group of comics saying, okay, send me a video, or let's do a Zoom chat, or let's talk, StreamYard, so I can see how your rig is set up, see how how you're lighting. And
do you have a microphone? Do you have a high-speed internet? Yeah.
Yeah, because every time I did it with my comics, they're like, oh, I had to borrow a headphone from my neighbor down here, and I've got my laptop balanced on my bed because I'm sitting on my bed and the dog is jumping on the bed, and I gotta smoke I gotta smoke weed during the game, so I gotta wander out to my patio because I don't smoke in my house, and I'm like, that's fine. All the bullshit's fine if you're just playing with friends, Right.
Do you have a idea in mind for the length of the episode? Is it going to be 2 hours? Do you feel the pressure of like, well, Critical Role's 4 hours, we should do 4 hours, that sort of thing?
No, my shows last an hour and a half on stage, so I'm going to keep it about an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Will you do it? And do you do an intermission? Okay, we're at the hour mark. Everyone, we'll come back here at a little cliffhanger. Come back, let everyone smoke. Bio break.
I haven't thought of that, yet. I don't know, and I think I might also
run an ad for Zero Level Media Patreon.
I also probably won't do it live. As much as I would love to do it live,
right,
to have people interacting and maybe interact with the show, because like I'm on the live stage shows, I've got these 4 potions of healing of different, levels, and they could, hey, that player needs some healing right now, give them bottle number 2, and it's all random, And I would love to interact that with, a streaming audience, but I got to find a moderator. I don't, because I can't moderate.
Manage the chat, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I can't do that and DM at the same time. So, bless his heart, Jesse, the intern's just not good enough or doesn't want to do it. So, so they might be recorded and then put up, and that way I can better control a little bit of the situation in the game. And So it won't be live, but when I run them for the first time, maybe I will be live in chat to interact that way.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I do like there were some D&D channels which I thought was really interesting. They're on Twitch, and I forget what they're called, but when the show was over, they just replayed it, and they would just replay it and replay it. And so I think people would just pop in it was like basically running an ad.
Mm-hmm.
And a really neat idea. I don't think it would work if I was like streaming drawing or something like that. But for content like a engaging actual play stream, replaying it's kind of awesome, because I got to think that, they're just off doing whatever. They're playing Baldur's Gate and they're getting a new subscriber. They're just, the system's churning and working for them in some way.
Yeah, it's definitely, that's why I want to concentrate, because I think concentrating, excuse me. He said my mute button didn't work, so I didn't even bother. I guess I can mute it there. I don't, never mind. I'll just hear me cough. I'm an old man. And, I want to work. If we have a strong internet show, it will only help the live shows.
Right.
So that's what I'm going to concentrate on from here throughout the end of the year. Yes, I've got Gamehole Con, which is great, and it'll be fun. That's, and I've got 2 more scheduled Knoxville shows last Wednesday of the month in September and October. I don't think there'll be any more Nashville shows. There may be 1 more Huntsville show, but that'll, I won't book any more shows for November or December. I don't think, unless Huntsville says, "Hey, let's do a show in December again." That was, let's do a Christmas special,
Right. That'd be great.
So then it'll just concentrate on and hopefully unleash the online streaming program in December or maybe January, depending on how the pieces come together.
Will it start off in the Sword and Board Tavern?
Maybe.
I'm trying to make synergy here. Trying to.
Well, that
I was after our last conversation. The thought was mazes and too many muses. Then I thought that's the thing. We have all these things pulling us in different directions. Okay, we know we're victim to that. What can we do? What if we got all our muses to stand closer to one another, so we get at least pulled in the? Okay, so it's Catacombs and Comedians, and it's Sword and Board, and it's taking place in the city of, what's your city called? Warrenhold. Okay, we're getting all this stuff together, and there's an observatory, and in the observatory they have a reference to an ancient tome called Star Marshals. I'm like, we'll find a way to create the grand Dan Taylor unification theory and bring it all together.
The Dan Taylor unification theory is part of my Danifesto. That's
the Danifesto.
That's a podcast for another time. No, but I mentioned that I wanted to do a campaign with dragons and a post-apocalyptic type of thing.
Right.
Wormageddon. Well, that will be the Catacombs and Comedians actual play stream show.
That makes sense.
So I put those 2 ideas together.
Yeah. But it's perfect, because again, as long as you have because I absolutely feel like you have all this heat from all these different things that I think if you can get them to come together, they will ignite. You have all these embers, and I can see you go over here, you build it, you get one to glow a little bit, and then you're like, ooh, that ember, and you're like over there,
that one's going out.
Yeah.
Let's start a new one.
Yeah, but I think we all feel that. I'd love to do more Astounding Space Throws. I'd love to do more Bloop, but I gotta keep my eye on the thing in front of me. Kickstarters help me in that way, because it's such a it gives me a to-do list that I have to do, and if left to my own devices, my own personal to-do list is scrolling long and ridiculous.
I did finish my latest draft of Pirate Tales, though.
Excellent.
The novella. It's clocking in at about 25,000 words. So it's a short one, So I think I'm going to do another round. I got some ideas, because there are concepts I didn't do that, because this is just a straight novelization of my original comic book story. That only 2 issues of a 5-issue series was published through IDW back in the day. And so I just took that comic book script and added all the adverbs and adjectives to that script, and it gave me about 25,000 words. And there are elements that I didn't put in the comic book that I want to do, like maybe a mole, like a nearsighted mole who is kind of a sage, maybe mystical a little bit. Maybe more run-ins with the Mouseketeers, not the Disney Mouseketeers, but mice that are musketeers. And as you can hear, my puppy Jolene has ideas too. So I'm gonna, where I feel that it's now that I've got this 25,000 words, and this is something I want to finish by the end of the year as well. Maybe get another 5,000, 7,000 words in it to boost the story up a little bit, just so it's a little more of a hefty read. Because right now it's clocking in at maybe 100 pages.
Is that something that you're going to give to make available on the Zero Level Media Patreon, or is it something you're going to make available through the Kindle store or
Kindle store? Yeah, this is going to be a published book by Dan Leon Taylor. I'm going to use my middle name because that makes me sound more author-y, more writer-like.
The sorrel.
Yeah, the writer who can't come up with a I'm good with words. As my daughter says, I got a good vocabulary, don't I, Dan? I go, yes, you do have a good vocabulary. But so that's and then I might spin Pirate Tales would make a great role-playing game. And make a great another comic book, give that a shot again down the road if I want to. But I as a creative person, I need a book out there. I've got my Little Miss Jellybean kids book, and I got my Little Miss Jellybean and Gumdrop Guy sequel to that.
Was this your first prose publication?
Other than way back in the day, I wrote a short story that was in the back of Steve Niles' 30 Days a Night comic book.
A story set in his world?
Yeah.
Okay.
In his world. And that kind of landed me the job at IDW, to be honest with you, because I did it before I got the job.
Oh, wow.
And Steve asked me, hey, do you want to write a story in this? And I said, sure, I would love to. So, and that was something Hero Happy Hour got for me. Yeah.
Wow. And is Pirate Tales, is that for the 2 issues that were completed, is that artwork that you own? Do you have the rights to that? Are you able to use that in your book in any way?
No, I've got the right to the story and all that stuff, but that was IDW.
Gotcha.
And to be honest with you, as much as I like the artwork in that, it wasn't exactly what I was going for. Gotcha. So the art I want to use in my story, as I just want more simple line illustrations, like almost as if they were wood carving.
Right.
Kind of like a cross between a Don Bluth clean line work and a wood carving.
Okay.
Type of thing.
Sure.
Just black and white, not grayscale. Featuring each of the main characters and maybe little scenes. But to give it a feel of a book that may have been published back in the day.
Right.
And again, it's padding, but it's also makes sense because I'm not going to go into deep description on how these rats are pirates, so the illustrations will help. Sure. Well, that's what they look like.
Yeah, that's nice.
Rather than me saying they stand 3 feet tall and their hands work, I'm just, they will be there as a guide, and maybe throw on a map. I would like to throw on a map because it is, islands and
of course you would
seagoing and
of course you would.
Yeah. I honestly just thought of the map just now. Why didn't I think of that earlier? So yeah, this will just be I'm no crowdfunding. Just boom. One day I'm going to tell you, hey Steve, my book dropped yesterday.
Is that how you handled some of the other drive-through RPG projects of yours?
Yeah, exactly. And they're all tiny. They're kind of tiny. They're not worth crowdfunding. I just throw them up there, because basically the smaller ones that I've done, like like the tea room and I got like a thing of daggers. It's just stuff I kicking around on my hard drives, and when I let's pretty it up a little bit, and then I just throw it up there and forget about it, move on to the next.
Right. There's something nice about not worrying about working in 4-page increments. It's something nice about not worrying about like printing specs and all that stuff, about just putting it up there. And because when like 2 weeks ago you said, oh, and here's the thing I did, and I saw, was it more by Dan Leon Taylor or more by, I forget what your pen name was or used there, but just all these projects you've done. And it's so interesting that there isn't more of an organic discovery system. Like, I don't even think they do editors picks. Like, you'd think there'd be like a bookshelf where you'd have like every bookstore, here's our staff's pick.
There is a newsletter that goes out, and my tea room was on that once. Was
it?
Yeah.
Did it move the needle?
Not much, but maybe a couple more out of it. But again, those are just, it's like every now and then I come up with a t-shirt design and I just throw it up on TeePublic and forget about it. And every now and then I get hey, you made a sell. And I'm like, hey, I made $2 off this.
That's interesting.
Sell I put up, and I don't promote it. I don't link it to any of my other stuff. I don't tell anybody about it. They're just organically found.
You just have like, if you have 1,000 things out there and each one makes $2, it's like that adds up.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's just stuff to get out of my head. And, a lot of times it's questionable, or if I'm doing something in parody or,
right.
They'll say, nope, we're shutting this one down. I'm like, okay,
Oh, so yeah, that's cool. That's nice to rely on their system. That's cool.
Yeah. No big deal. Okay. My bad. I mean, you should allow it up there. I mean, what's it hurting by saying, I think I had a t-shirt that said, may the force live long and prosper with you.
That's good.
And that got shut down.
We're not sure by who, but we know someone has a problem with this.
Exactly.
Is the so when you do the new live stream, the actual play, are you doing 5e? You doing Tales of the Valiant?
5e. Okay. This will be 5e. I do want to do another Tales of the Valiant that won't. The Catacombs Comedians will be 5e. I'm not switching to Tales of the Valiant for that. Tales of the Valiant, I just want to do with a group of people that want to play Tales of the Valiant, and help me design it. Come up with material to publish that as a Tales of the Valiant third-party publisher.
And is what's your latest take on the new? I've seen all these mixed things about the upcoming 5, 6. We decided we're calling it 6th edition. This upcoming 6th edition. It seems like they made an announcement, or people have interpreted to say that all this Unearthed Arcana stuff they've been sharing, all this play testing has been just kind of an experiment. No, don't take it all seriously. Kind of like, this is just getting feedback, just collecting information, and that feels like they're pulling back on a lot of the stuff they've shared. Because I know there's like guys like Triad Monks on YouTube has done a deep dive in each one of these playtest packets. Like, okay, here's how all these things break down, and like how the cascade of you make this one change, you adjust this one dial, and here's the 50 things that affects. All these deep dives, and it turns out, well, we're not going to adjust that dial. So it feels like people have done a lot of theory crafting on stuff that is not fixed in any way, fixed in like locked in any way. So I don't know if we're all just still in limbo about Wizards is just going to keep announcing these things. They're going to run stuff by the fans. The fans are going to really upvote the stuff that gives them more power. Dedoy. And in 6 months we'll get the real deal. And we don't even worry about it till they tell us.
And that's exactly what I'm doing.
Okay.
I'm not even worried about it. I'm waiting to see.
Yeah.
I think maybe, just maybe, some of these folks are putting too much time into something that's in play testing.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, they're chasing clicks and views and stuff like that. Hey, because it is a thing where when Wizards of the Coast announces anything, people are like, you get people, I shall now read what they just wrote, and they're like reading it live, and you're watching them like live on screen reading the thing. Like, oh, that's interesting. Like, some people want the news read to them, apparently.
And I'm just waiting to see it. I will be out there first day buying the new edition and playing it regardless. At every D&D influencer or YouTuber or, whatever could come out and say, this is the most horrible thing. It is wretched. It will give you hives if you read it. I will still buy it. And
So,
I'll still put it in my shelf.
Have you always done that?
Yes.
Do you find yourself liking the product even if it maybe isn't clicking with you entirely? Is it kind of like, well, this is the official one, this is what we're going to play, like 4th edition? Some people had problems with that. I'm gonna say a lot. It seems to be that people really they enjoyed 3, or for all I know, they just liked 3 and then liked the ability to play in that sandbox, and that encouraged them to make the world, to homebrew it more to their taste. And then 4 comes around, it lacks that feature, it lacks the ability to customize it for yourself, and people are like, And then 5 comes around and that reintroduces that thing. And again, I think they really learned a lot, and 5 has a lot of magic. Whatever problems it has, whatever weaknesses. It has a lot of great stuff going for it. Did you find you liked 4? Did you like 3, 5? Did you immediately warm to 5?
I immediately warmed to 5. Yes, I can answer that. 4, I got and may have read, but I don't think I played it in any. It's just a point in my life where I didn't play. I wasn't in a campaign in it. I wasn't, invested in it. I didn't have, online things, based on it. I certainly didn't have a comedy show
right
based on it.
People didn't have Wi-Fi then.
3, I loved.
Right.
I really can't tell. I really am not nuanced into being a rules guy so much. I'm more fluff than crunch. So I really can't tell you what the difference between was 3 or how the difference between 3 and 3.5 affected my game or my playing. I never try to go, I'm going to use this skill. I'm going to use this ability. I'm going to go, right. I don't power game. I never power game. I've never power game. That's not me. Hey, my half-length rogue, it would be cool if he could do this. That's how I play games. And
when you play your video games, do you power game those?
No. I'm like, yeah, it's completely useless for me to go down the skill tree, but that's how I play.
Right. This speaks to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I will pick up, I could use a short sword, or I could use this giant monster sword. Well, it looks neater if my halfling has the short sword, Yeah. So I'm going to stick with that. If I find a better short sword, or maybe even the scimitar gives me a couple more pluses. We'll take that.
That's the thing I wish. To World of Warcraft's credit, they introduced transmogrification, where if you have like a really cool item, you can make it look like another item. So you did have the ability to blend power and style, and in a way, I feel like a game system might be better off if it didn't. It's almost like it punishes you for doing the thing that's flavorful, as opposed to the thing that is like hard hitting. There was a really interesting video in Folding Ideas channel. Also a fellow named Dan. Thou shalt have no Dans before Dan Taylor. But that aside, Folding Ideas, he did one about like World of Warcraft, how you're playing it wrong. Like someone was playing a halfling and they're like, well, I don't wear shoes. I'm a halfling. I don't wear shoes. And boots are a thing in World of Warcraft, and they can give you power. And the idea that you're not wearing them means you're playing it wrong. And the whole idea that you're playing wrong is such a weird concept that he explores it in a lovely essay. It's worth checking out. Folding Ideas is the channel.
No, and it's exactly like I'm playing Starfield right now, a game I've waited 6-7 years for. And I'm not following already. 2 days in, I'm not following the main story. And I don't sit there and play all day long either. I play an hour here, an hour there, because I've got a wife, I got a kid, I got all this creating I do, so I can't play all the time. But I'm already veered off the main story, and I'm just going around looking for planets that have space pirates on, just so I can shoot the space pirates and loot their stuff.
That's awesome.
So I'm having fun doing that.
Yeah, I feel like if you're having fun, then you're doing it right.
The scenery's beautiful. The music's beautiful. I'll get back to the main story later. It's not going anywhere. Let me get used to the game, doing all this stuff. So I don't I'm not going to go, oh, I need this. Oh, that looks like a neat looking gun. My character, I like playing in third person compared to first person. So whatever gun looks the neatest with my guy running around, that's the gun I'm going to use.
That's great.
So, and I played games wrong, and that goes with video games, and that goes with role playing games. I'm an idea fluff guy more than I'm a crunch guy.
Well, and get back to the idea of getting the books. You're going to get the books on day one. I know that you were at Gen Con and you picked up the new Giants book from WotC. Have you cracked it open? What do you think of it?
I really haven't read much of it, to be honest with you.
You got it, skimming through it, thought. Do you look at it? When you look at it, are you looking at it from like, is this something I can bring to the Catacombs and Comedians table? Or do you look at it more like, this is an aspirational thing? When you pick up that book, apart from making sure that you have the complete run, I know that's, as a comic fan, and looking at the shelves behind you, you're like, you have to have every one. Apart from scratching that itch, why do you want those books? Or is that the primary thing?
In a way, it supports a hobby that I truly do love.
Okay.
So that's just, that's another $50 that, saying, hey, keep doing what you're doing, guys.
And when you bought it, did you buy it directly from Wizards, or did you buy it from like another vendor who was selling it?
I bought it from the official seller for Wizards there at the con.
Gotcha. So, but when
they were the only people that had it.
Gotcha. So right, because it might be early. So most of the other times you're buying these things, it's also benefiting the local comic shop or the retailer you're purchasing it from. So I totally get that, and that's awesome. But it's not that the book itself is a thing where, like, I picked up the Fizban's Treasury of Dragons because I was playing a Draconic Sorcerer and thought
I picked that up too. Yeah,
this might be magic that I can apply to it. But it's like one of the very few books I bought because I thought it applied to what I was doing. I wasn't sure if you bought the books with that same mentality or something.
I buy them for inspiration. I mean, people may say, "Oh, Wizards of the Coast, I don't like how they do this." They're the ones doing it, and they're the ones that know better than anybody else. So if I'm flipping through it and I say, "Hey, that's a neat dragon slaying sword," maybe I'll steal that idea, not necessarily use it as written, but it does invisibility against dragons for a 2-turn thing. That's a good thing to have. I'm going to add it to my dragon slaying sword, but none of the rest is their dragon slaying sword. It's my own dragon slaying sword.
Gotcha.
Just how they write lore, how they write, I want to do it in a similar fashion.
Right.
I don't want to copy it, but I want, well, obviously, in my sense, since they're the architects of the game, both Fluff and Crunch. There's not a better example of how to do it. And other people may argue me saying, no, we do it much better with, Kobold Press does it much better this way, or so-and-so does it much better. This Goodman Games does it so much better this way. But it's whatever. It didn't win. And
it's one in my heart.
I love it. It's one of the few things I did read all the way from cover to cover.
Anything worth stealing?
Maybe.
Excellent.
So that's my take on the game, on the books. I don't run the adventures, yes, right, as they are. The Player's Handbook, Monster Manual are really all I need. I don't even utilize the Dungeon Master's Guide that much. Because those give me the crunch part that I need, the mechanics.
Right.
Everything else, Wizards of the Coast publishes as Dungeons & Dragons is inspirational reading for me. Are a vessel to steal ideas from.
Do you find the old books equally or partially inspirational as well? Do you find yourself cracking open Unearthed Arcana from 2nd edition going, is there anything in here worth seeing? Or
mostly Advanced Dungeons and Dragons books, those three books. I mean, I like the way they did Orb of the Dragonkind back in the day, or the Vorpal Sword and, stuff like that. So I do like to, some of the stuff I create do harken back to the days of Thaco, right, but with a 5th edition spin on them.
Right.
So
that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're pushing our time limit. I'm next weekend. I'm at the Baltimore Comic Con. I'm a guest there. You can find me at booth 12 something something something. I'll be there with copies of The Middle Age if UPS delivers them. My luggage will be full of death dealing and intoximancy. So if folks want to see me there next week, you're off.
I am off in New Orleans watching my beloved Titans take on the New Orleans Saints. Football kicks off this Thursday night, so we should get the Zero Level Media Fantasy Football League together.
And did you say the weekend after that you have another obligation? Or are we back in 2 weeks?
We're back into it. After I talk to you, I got to hop in my truck and head down to the game.
That's amazing.
It's a home game. I got season tickets to the Titans, so
that's awesome.
It's a half-hour drive away from where I live to the stadium. So okay, Steve, got to go.
Well, So in 2 weeks, we'll get a report from how tonight went for
How tonight went. Well, hopefully I'll have all the info you want on the Star Marshals crowdfunding. Fingers crossed. And hopefully news on more on how I'm setting up the Zero Level Patreon, as well as there was something else. Oh, the upcoming Catacombs Comedians show.
I'm making notes. We're going to hit all these things. And then I'll have a report from Baltimore Comic Con. Hopefully I'll have news about the card decks from Death Dealing. And I mean, fingers crossed that by the time we're talking again, they've arrived. I can show them off on the screen, and I will have already mailed you your loot. Fingers crossed.
I'm looking forward to it. And that's it. I mean, that was a quick hour.
Yeah. Well, you're an interesting person.
Nah, whatever. All right, Steve, I will talk to you later.
Sounds good.
Have fun at your con. I'll try to creep on you when you do your live stream earlier with your artwork later this week.
That sounds good. And good luck tonight. I look forward to hearing. I hope it goes great. Hope your merch sells out.
Yeah, fingers crossed. If I make gas money, I'm happy.
That's awesome.
All right. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Dan.
May you all make all your saving throws.